For most of the last century, Appalachia was considered hunted out. Its big predators gone, its wildest corners quiet. That's no longer true. One by one, animals that vanished generations ago are working their way back into these hollows, and a few that showed up are ones nobody invited in the first place. People who live up in these mountains will tell you they're seeing things now that their grandparents never did. We're counting down 12 of them, from the ones that slip past you without a sound, to the one animal these ridges have argued about for 100 years and still can't agree is real. Before we get into it, if you love this kind of wildlife story, hit subscribe now. This channel covers exactly what's actually moving back into these mountains, not the sanitized version. Takes 2 seconds and it really helps. Now, the countdown. 12. The bobcat. Trapped down to almost nothing across Appalachia, it came back entirely on its own. No release program, no headlines. It hunts alone after dark and can move through a thicket without tipping a leaf. It's now the most common wildcat in North America, and most people in bobcat country never see one in a lifetime. The only version worth fearing is a rabid one, sick and fearless, walking roads in daylight instead of vanishing. 11. The river otter. Wiped out by pollution and trapping, then reintroduced through the 1980s and 90s once the Clean Water Act cleaned the rivers back up. It hunts in family groups and only settles where water runs clean and fish run thick. That playful, whiskered face belongs to a relentless hunter that can strip a trout pool bare in a single season. The cutest apex predator on this list. 10. The fisher. A large, dark member of the weasel family, logged and trapped out of Appalachia long ago, then reintroduced into West Virginia in 1969. It's one of the only animals on the continent with a reliable method for killing a porcupine. It climbs as easily as it runs, so nothing in the canopy is truly safe from it. 9. The peregrine falcon. Vanished from the entire eastern U.S. by the 1960s after DDT thinned its eggshells to powder. Biologists rebuilt the population by hand-raising and releasing young birds from cliffs and towers. A hunting peregrine folds into a dive clocked over 200 miles an hour, the fastest living thing on Earth, now nesting again on Blue Ridge crags and city bridges alike. 8. The bald eagle. It followed the same collapse. DDT, broken eggs, entire regions with no nesting pairs left. Banned pesticides and healed rivers brought it back so completely it came off the endangered list in 2007. People forget what that noble silhouette actually does for a living. Rip a live fish from the surface or rob a smaller hunter of its catch in midair. 7. The golden eagle. Most people insist this bird only lives out west. They're wrong. Trail cameras on remote Appalachian ridgetops have confirmed a wintering population that rides the spine of these mountains every cold season, roosting in the emptiest country left. Out west, golden eagles have been recorded taking prey as large as young deer. Their return each winter is a quiet reading of just how wild these ridges still are. Everything so far, you could walk right past and never know was watching. From here down, they get bigger, stranger, and far harder to live beside, and one of the last few was never supposed to set foot in these mountains at all. 6. The timber rattlesnake. As the forest grew back over old clear-cuts and worn-out farmland, this snake reclaimed its ground on the sun-baked ledges. A single rattlesnake clears enough mice and chipmunks in a season to noticeably cut down the ticks those rodents carry. Its venom is serious, but it would rather warn you with a dry buzz from the leaf litter than ever use it. 5. The black bear. Nearly wiped out a century ago, it's roared back so completely that some states now count thousands where there were almost none. The wild ones aren't the danger. The ruined ones are. A bear that learns even once that people mean food stops avoiding people entirely and starts working the campgrounds instead. 4. The eastern coyote. For 100 years there was an empty throne at the top of these mountains after wolves were trapped out. Then something slid into that gap that nobody let in. A hybrid, carrying real wolf and dog blood, bigger and heavier than any western coyote. You can't trap or shoot it back out. Pressure a population hard and the females simply answer with bigger litters. 3. The wild boar. Not reintroduced, not native. Descendants of European and Russian stock that broke out of a hunting preserve around 1912 and never stopped spreading. They root whole meadows into churned mud overnight. devour the eggs and young of native species, and spread disease as they go. Corner 1, and a few 100 pounds of muscle, will commit to the charge without hesitation. 2. The red wolf. The heartbreak of this whole list, the one predator we actually tried to bring home, declared extinct in the wild by the 1970s, and rebuilt from just 14 captive animals, it was released back into the Great Smoky Mountains in 1991. The pups couldn't survive the wet mountain dens, and by 1998, the experiment was quietly ended. Today, the only wild red wolves left on Earth cling to survival in the flatlands of eastern North Carolina, not the mountains that still refuse to hold them. 1. The eastern cougar, the most feared predator in Appalachian history, and the one the government insists is gone. Declared extinct in 2011, yet the sightings never stopped. Officials say almost all of them turn out to be bobcats or dogs, and most of the time they're right. But cougars are far from extinct as a species, and young males have confirmed walked over 1,000 miles east from Western Territory before. The gap between what a biologist can prove and what generations of hill people swear they've seen is exactly where the dread still lives. So the postcard lied. These mountains were never tamed, only emptied for a little while. And now, one predator at a time, they're filling back up. The people who live closest will tell you the quiet is over. If this changed the way you'll look at the next silent ridge, subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments which one on this list surprised you the most.